Welcome, everyone, to our webinar about our undergraduate program here at UC Berkeley in Civil and Environmental Engineering. My name is Cara Nelson. I'm a professor here at UC Berkeley. And the way the evening is going to work is we're going to start off by introducing ourselves. And then the chair of our department, Professor Samar Madana, is going to give a brief overview of our department. And then we're going to turn to questions from you. So as you're listening to us, please keep in mind and start keeping track of questions that you might have. And the way that you will be asking them is you'll type them in as comments onto our web interface. And then I will read your questions and direct them to one of our panelists. So let me start by introducing myself. So as I said, I'm a professor here, and my focus area is environmental engineering. And I actually went to UC Berkeley as an undergraduate. So I came as an out-of-state student. I'm originally from Oregon and was an undergraduate here. And my time at Cal was so incredible that when I graduated, I decided that I wanted to come back. But I knew that if I wanted to come back as a professor, that I would have to leave. And so I intentionally did not apply to graduate school at UC Berkeley. I ended up going to University of Washington and then UC Davis. And then after that, I applied for my faculty position. And it was sort of like a dream come true to come back to UC Berkeley. So I've been here for 12 years now. And I have a lot of interaction with undergraduate students. So I teach 2 classes in our undergraduate program, one in environmental engineering and one on how to use natural systems like wetlands for treating wastewater and stormwater. I also advise a number of our student organizations like Engineers Without Borders. We have a student competition team in environmental engineering. I help to advise students who are interested in studying abroad, and many of our students do choose to do that, and we have a fantastic program run by the university. And generally have a lot of interaction with students through advising and events that our students put on. So I'll leave it at that for now, and I'll pass it on to our chair, and then we'll go down the line and we'll hear introductions from everyone.
Thank you, Cara. My name is Samar Madanat. I'm the chair of the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. I'm also a professor, and my area of specialization is transportation engineering. I can't claim to have as long and distinguished a record as Cara in as far as involvement with our student organizations, but I have regularly taught an undergraduate course in transportation engineering at the undergraduate level, as well as a course in computer programming for engineers. I've also regularly engaged undergraduate students in working with me on my research projects as part of teams that involve PhD and master's students as well.
Right. Hi, I'm Frank. I am a senior here at UC Berkeley studying civil and environmental engineering. I'm emphasizing in environmental engineering, and next year I'll be coming back for grad school. During my 4 years here, I've been involved with a number of student organizations within the department. I've been a member of ASCE, which is the American Society of Civil Engineering. I'm a member of Chi Epsilon, our Civil Engineering Honor Society. And for my 4 years, I've been a very active member of the Concrete Canoe team.
My name is Andriana. I am also a senior in the Civil and Environmental Engineering department. I'm studying structural engineering, and I'm also coming back here for graduate school next semester. I have been involved in numerous student organizations, including ASCE with Frank, our Chi Epsilon, our Honor Society, and the Seismic Design Competition team.
Hi, I'm Joan Chamberlain. I'm the undergraduate advisor and the resource to the undergraduate student population here.
Hi, I'm Jim Hunt. I've been on the faculty here for about 33 years. During that time, my interest has been environmental engineering and applied hydrology. I have taught courses at the freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and graduate levels, as well as advising undergraduate students, and even helped Joan with the concrete canoe competition last year. Professor Nelson.
Okay, thank you everyone for introducing yourselves. I'm going to now have Chair Madanat give us a brief introduction to our department.
Very good. Thank you, Cara. This is a fairly large civil and environmental engineering department that we have here at UC Berkeley. It's large and broad. We have about 45 full-time faculty members. The student population varies from year to year, but it's between 330 and 350 undergraduate students and about an equal number of graduate students. We're active in teaching and research in practically every aspect of the field of civil and environmental engineering. That involves the design, the construction, renewal of our civil infrastructure, the management of our environmental systems, as well as the management, the planning, management, and operation of transportation facilities and systems. We're very concerned with issues having to do with the seismic risk, and we have a very active teaching and research program in earthquake engineering, as well as in water resources. So from this, what I want to emphasize is that the range of courses that we have is quite wide, and that also undergraduate students have numerous opportunities to be engaged in research with faculty and with teams led by faculty and that also involve graduate students. One of the things that makes also our department special is the very active and the large number of very active student organizations. Specifically, we have a number of competition teams of which we're very proud and that we support well, both financially and with time from the faculty. Our undergraduate programs in civil engineering and environmental engineering are usually ranked in the top 2 or the top 3 in the country, and our graduate programs are as well. What is involved in civil and environmental engineering that is covered here at UC Berkeley? As I said, we're very broad and we cover practically every field. Starting with structural engineering, which is what many people think of when they think initially of civil and environmental engineering. That has to do with the design of structures above ground, understanding the mechanics and the materials aspects of these facilities is important. Geoengineering or geotechnical engineering is focused on construction below ground as well as understanding and studying land masses. Environmental engineering is concerned both with making sure that society meets its needs in terms of both the quantity and quality of resources such as water, air quality, and ecological systems. Transportation engineering is focused primarily on the movement of goods and people between cities and within cities. We also have a program in engineering project management where the focus is on the delivery of civil infrastructure systems. That is, how are they built and how to build them within time and constraints. We have 2 recent programs that are younger. One is a program in systems engineering, which is focused very much on the integration of the individual element in a civil infrastructure and planning them and operating them in an efficient and economic manner. And most recently, we started a brand new program in energy and climate change that is focused on the sustainability of the planet and societies and on reducing our carbon footprint in particular. So having said that, why would you choose to come to UC Berkeley? Why is this a good program for you? All right, well, it's a world-class CE department. As I said, we're regularly ranked in the top 2 or the top 3. Very often we are the top number 1. But an education at UC Berkeley goes beyond what you study in your department. You'll be taking electives in social sciences and humanities outside of CEE. You'll also have an option of taking a number of technical electives outside of civil and environmental engineering. And what you need to know is that Berkeley is excellent in every area and every department. It is generally viewed as one of the top 4 or 5 universities in the world. and which means that whether you're taking courses in the history of the Mongol invasions or whether you're taking courses in thermodynamics or in American culture outside of this department, you will be taught by the best and the brightest faculty. Just as importantly as the faculty, and maybe more importantly, are the students you'll be sitting with. One of the great things about UC Berkeley is that the other students in your classrooms, the students you'll interact with, you'll be taking courses with, you will socialize with, are also among the best in the world. You'll be interacting with future leaders, people who will lead companies, who will become famous in academia, and who will be part of your social network. This is an excellent opportunity for you as a result. The Berkeley is located in the San Francisco Bay Area, and that is a large cosmopolitan and a large metropolitan area, which means that practically every aspect, every problem that civil and environmental engineers are asked to solve are to be found here. This means that in many ways and in many cases, the San Francisco Bay Area itself is our lab. It is a natural, real-world lab for much of our teaching and research. Just as importantly, it has a very large number of companies that were founded, many of them by UC Berkeley graduates, and therefore opportunities for internships and for jobs after your graduation are plentiful. And one thing that has to be said is that the Bay Area in general and Berkeley in particular is a fantastic place to live. We're across the bay from America's most beautiful city, San Francisco. We are a 5-minute drive from natural parks, and you have a range of cultural and other outdoors activities right at your doorstep. So these are the main reasons, but there are other reasons that will be important to you as undergraduate students. And I talked briefly about our student teams, and they're just fantastic. These are competition teams, for the most part, that students lead, work as teams, and are advised typically by 1 or 2 faculty members. We're very proud of our steel bridge team, which won #1 at the Nationals last year. Our concrete canoe team is also very good. It placed #1 a few years ago, back in 2009 in Nationals. We have a very active and successful environmental team. And most recently, our seismic team took the award for most innovative design in last year's competition. So all of these reasons are additional reasons that you have an opportunity to be part of these teams. You will form strong and lasting friendships with the other students working with you on these teams. And I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to tell you more about these teams from Frank and Adriana, who both have been very active with them. So that's it for my introduction to the department. And I think at this point, Cara will just open it up for questions.
Yeah, so let me thank you all for your introductions, and also welcome you all who are out there watching us on YouTube. If you missed the very beginning, what you need to know is that we are now at your disposal. So at this point, we are opening up this session to you, and you are invited to type in your questions into the comment section that's to the right of the screen. And then I will read your questions and help direct them to one of our panelists. And let me start also add one more thing that I meant to do at the very beginning, which is to congratulate you all. So we're absolutely thrilled about the fact that you are considering coming here. We chose you because you are outstanding, and we really want you to join us and become part of our community. So let me start off by asking a question myself, which is a very common question that I hear from prospective students, and that is, I imagine you want to hear from our current students about how they decided to come here. So Frank, let me start off with you. Could you tell us and the students that are out there watching, how did you decide to come to Berkeley, and how did you know it was the right place for you?
Yeah, so my first time visiting Berkeley was actually on Cal Day, and at that point I hadn't decided where I was going to go to college yet. But after coming here on Cal Day and meeting with the professors who were all really engaging, I saw what the department had to offer in terms of classes and what the professors could do for you. And just being here, I kind of saw myself, I could see myself here, for the next 4 years. And since I've been here, it's true, I love it here. I'm coming back for grad school, so I think that speaks a lot to it.
I'm just going to add to that. I actually grew up in the Bay Area, so I didn't want to come to Berkeley because it was so close to home. But when I came to visit on Cal Day, aside from the fact that Berkeley is one of the best universities and they have such a great program, I actually met quite a few students who were just raving about the programs, about the faculty, about how many resources they have, opportunities for research, involvement in the student groups, which you've heard so much about. So that pretty much sold me on Cal.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to turn to a question that came up in advance of this event tonight that we often get, and that is that students often have the perception that the classes at Cal are really big because we're such a big campus. Professor Madanat, could you address that question?
Yeah, certainly. So an education in civil and environmental engineering starts with basic sciences. And in your freshman year, for the most part, and part of your sophomore year, you will be taking fairly large classes that are fairly large in terms of the number of students, primarily in math and physics and chemistry or biology. Now, having said that, while the classrooms have a large number of students, there is a very small aspect to the classroom because they all have additional discussion sections where you will be taught in smaller numbers, maybe 20 students or 30 students per classroom. The labs also will have a smaller feel to them. And you will have a lot of individual attention during that freshman year in those large courses. Now, as you move into engineering and then more specifically in civil and environmental engineering, the classes become much smaller. And in a typical required course in civil and environmental engineering that you might take in your sophomore year or the beginning of your junior year, will have something on the order of 50 to 60 students. As you move further and further into your specialization, if should you choose to specialize, but as you take technical electives, for example, if you take a course in structural engineering that is part of our technical elective group, or transportation engineering, or hydrology, the classes will be smaller yet, on the order of 30 students. So you will gradually receive much more attention from the faculty. But throughout the process, you will always have teaching assistants. And teaching assistants are regularly or usually master's or PhD students who can provide much more individual attention to you. Everybody has office hours that involves the professors. And these office hours, I should say, are sometimes underused. The students don't seem to like, or maybe sometimes are intimidated to talk to the professor. But they have the office hours for our teaching assistants seem to be much better subscribed to. So we will want you, when you join us, to come and visit us because we get really lonely.
Yeah, Professor Hunt.
I would like to add to that. Last semester in the fall, I taught for the first time a senior design course. Our undergrads are required to take at least one design course as part of their curriculum. And it was a course I taught for the first time, and there were 13 students enrolled, Frank being one of them. And it was an interesting experience because we had field trips, we had student presentations occupying maybe a third of the course. There was a lot of feedback between the course, the students, myself, and the graduate student instructor. It was a small school experience, I think.
And I'd like to mention another opportunity that we have here that's across the campus, which is a program called Freshman Seminars. And so there are freshman seminars offered in every department across the campus that clearly only freshmen can enroll in, and their size is restricted to 25 students. and they're just one unit. So the idea is that you can fit them into your schedule, even though you have required classes that you need to take that will be more demanding during your first year. But you can fit a freshman seminar in, and it gives you a really personal experience in a small classroom setting directly with a faculty member. You could choose to take a freshman seminar in civil and environmental engineering or in any other field of study that you want to, and that is a nice complement to some of the more technical electives or basic science and math courses that you take your first year. I can speak a little bit to one of the seminars that's offered in our department is taught by Professor Drakup, and this semester he had students actually building sand filters for treating water, and so they built 3 different kinds of filters and then compared them to 2 other kinds of filters that you can purchase, and they fed them with water from our local creek, Strawberry Creek, which is one of the beautiful natural attributes of campus, and then monitored how well they did at treating the water over the course of the semester. So it was a very hands-on experience, and the students got to ask a lot of important questions about, how do the filters work, what makes them work versus not, what's the difference between them. So they got into thinking about some of the engineering design questions as well about the performance of the filters. Okay, so we're going to turn now to a question from one of our participants directed to Frank, and they would like to know more about your experience with ASCE, Chi Epsilon, and Concrete Canoe. And also, how do you manage your time with all of these commitments, and then, of course, the demanding coursework that you have to take?
Okay. So when I came here as a freshman, I joined the Concrete Canoe team and ASCE, like my first semester. The Concrete Canoe team, every year we design, build, and then compete in a concrete canoe against other schools in our region. If we do well enough, we advance to the national level. It's a really fun competition, and I think my freshman year, I kind of just put in as much time as I could, and helped out whenever I could. ASCE, it's like the large civil engineering student organization here for the department, and they put on a lot of socials and things like that. So mainly you join and you get to meet a lot of your fellow students, some the upperclassmen that you might not have class with initially. So that was a lot of fun. Chi Epsilon, I joined the first semester of my junior year. Typically, you have to have junior standing and a certain GPA to get in, but that was just it's the honor society, so you get to have like a different group that you socialize with. It's also a lot of fun. I guess what I'm trying to say is all of these things, mainly you do like for fun and to do something outside of class. In regards to time management, I think it's something that you have to learn, but it's also something that none of these activities will force you to spend a lot of time on. It's just whatever time you can put in, you can put in.
So we have a follow-up question, and maybe we could turn to Adriana on this one. How do you manage, what does your schedule look like for a typical week?
For extracurriculars, or
No, just in general, how do you, what's your schedule look like for a typical week? Maybe how much time do you spend actually in class versus studying versus doing extracurricular activities?
Okay.
And remember, high school students are in class all day long. Mm-hmm. So it's a big change when you start college because you don't have class all day long anymore.
It's definitely a nice change to come to college and not have class all day. We have labs typically take 2 to 3 hours, but now that I'm a senior, I'm pretty much just in lectures, so I don't have that much class. I'd say about a third of the day, would you say, is spent in class. I like to frequent office hours, so I spend quite a bit of time doing work with my peers in office hours. I think to add to what Frank said about some of the student groups, you spend a lot of time in these meetings, but those are usually in the evenings, and all of your peers have homework, so you usually have class with the people that are also in the seismic team with you. So you also get to utilize those resources, and you can even do work with those people. So, yeah.
Thank you. Here we have another question about how much time will students have for electives outside of the CEE department? So actually, Joan, maybe you could start by talking about just what the actual course requirements are, and then we could follow up with some specific examples.
So students are required to take 6 units of what we call humanity breadth courses, and you can use 2 of AP courses like your English R1, if you took an English AP class, it can count towards your English R1A, and if you took history AP, that can also count. But a lot of students choose to take more courses outside of civil, and they actually have minors, and it's very feasible, and the minor is 5 classes. And I would say that over half of our students have a minor in something, some of them in Spanish, city and regional planning. We have students who minor in architecture. It's really a business. It's really quite a variety across the board. And I think what I'm feeling from this question is, I heard it a lot on Cal Day from some of our students. From some of our visitors, they're concerned that they're just going to spend all their time in civil classes and there's not much room in their life for something more. And I guess what always impresses me is not only do our students do well in taking, they take 12 to 15 units, but they also have very active outside lives. And they do a lot of we have these student-led classes in ballroom dancing and cleaning up Strawberry Creek, and they participate in those. And I often, see students on Friday and, hear about them going to the city or going up, to the mountains to hike. So I think our students have very well-balanced lives. And I rarely see a student that just studies and never does anything else.
And also, just to clarify in terms of what the technical courses are that you take, in addition to the humanities courses, every student takes 15 units of technical electives that build on your civil engineering core classes, and those can be in any area of engineering. So you could take classes in bioengineering or in mechanical or electrical engineering, and there's a lot of overlap between what is being taught and research areas in those other fields in civil engineering, so it's a nice way to sort of expand beyond the courses that we offer as well here. Anybody want to add any additional comments on that topic? So we have a question for our students, and that is, what were your favorite experiences in the CE labs?
I'll start that. So I'm a structural person, so I like working with concrete. So probably one of my favorite experiences in the labs is actually batching, mixing, creating concrete, and then waiting 28 days for it to actually be able to test it in lab. And I think it's very hands-on, and that's a course that you take, I believe, sophomore year. Mm-hmm. So even from the very beginning, you get into the labs and experience a little bit of civil engineering firsthand.
Right. I guess my favorite lab experience right now would actually be in Professor Nelson's class. So for our lab, we've set up a system of ponds and wetlands for natural ecological water treatment. So every week we'll take samples from these ponds and wetlands and analyze, the constituents in it. And later in the semester, we're going to be trying to summarize the findings that we've found throughout the semester.
And we always find that they're working. It's really cool. We get to actually see that treatment is happening. Mm-hmm. It's very satisfying. Okay, I'd like to direct a question to Joan. Is it possible to complete an undergraduate degree in our program in 4 years?
It's rare not to. The only students that I have that extend their time at Cal are some students who study abroad, who, when they study abroad, are given an extra semester to come back, and some of them choose to and some of them don't. But the only other students that I have not seen graduate in the 8 semesters given to them are students who have either an illness or an academic problem that prevents them. They fail a class and they have to repeat it. We have been very fortunate that our chair has been very supportive of being able to fund our classes and have a full offering of courses, and so students are able to get their coursework. You might have to take that course at 8 o'clock in the morning, but you can get it.
Another thing that is sort of related that we could talk about is we do offer some classes over the summer, and especially a lot of the lower division classes that you need to take your first and second years are offered over the summer. So if you are, it just makes everything a lot more flexible. So you have the option of taking some of your required courses during the summer, which allows you to get ahead and maybe have more room to take elective courses or to take courses related to a minor that you're trying to do. Or if for some reason you're getting behind, taking classes over the summer can be a good way to help you catch up so that you stay on the 4-year schedule.
It also allows you to have, if you feel overwhelmed one semester, you can take 12 units is all that's required to be a fully enrolled student. So if you just feel that your course that particular semester is a particularly hard semester, you could take 12 units knowing you could take a summer class to fulfill your 30 units for the year.
Professor Madana, I'd like to address a question to you that you kind of talked about in your introduction, but I think it'd be helpful to follow up on it a little bit more. So is it necessary to specialize in one aspect of civil engineering?
Thanks. That's a question I get asked about a lot, and I think it's important that people understand that within the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, it is possible, if you want to specialize primarily in your senior year by selecting a set of technical electives in the department that match your specific interest. We don't prefer that you specialize too early, primarily because we feel it's important that you be exposed to a large number of areas within civil and environmental engineering. We want you to have a broad foundation in the field, because if you didn't decide to go out and start working immediately after your bachelor's degree, you will be more marketable and able to have access to a larger number of opportunities if you know about all areas within civil and environmental engineering. My own advice typically to my undergraduate advisees has been, you want to specialize, you go to grad school. And this is where specialization should really be done. That does not mean you cannot specialize. And we do find several students, Adriana here is an example, who, for example, fell in love with structural engineering and decided that she needed to take some kind of a specialization within that field. But that is not a requirement.
Yeah, I found in serving as an undergraduate advisor for many years that every student is different, and some students sort of come in knowing exactly what they want to do. Of course, that may change, but some students do really have a good idea. Some students are just very curious about everything and spend a lot of time exploring different aspects of civil engineering. Some students, even by the time they graduate, they're not sure which field, which type of civil engineering they want to practice in. And it's all fine. Like, it's in terms of what your job prospects are or your career opportunities are, there are opportunities out there for you no matter what your interests are as well. So there are very specialized sort of job opportunities, and then there are companies and agencies that would be very happy to hire somebody that has a broad skill set, because so much of the practice of civil engineering is very interdisciplinary, and you're working with working across all the different actual areas of practice to tackle these really big problems that we face when building infrastructure. So another question we have here, will I be able to find internships or jobs during the summer? So I think this might be best answered by our students.
Okay, I can start. So last summer, I interned at MWH. They're a water infrastructure company located in Walnut Creek, which is about like half an hour, 45 minutes away. So in the summer, I like stayed in Berkeley, commuted to Walnut Creek, and for my internship, I worked with the Dams and Hydropower Group, where I got to look at how they build dams and canals in the area. Got to go on a few site tours and do a couple of canal inspections. So I think that was pretty cool.
I also had an internship last summer, but I think just on a general note, we have career fairs where we have a bunch of companies that come and you get to advertise yourself and you get to meet some of the representatives, and if they have any job opportunities, they'll tell you and you can tell them what you're looking for, and if it matches up, then hopefully you get a position. We also have info sessions weekly, almost weekly, where we learn about different companies and they come and they tell us a little bit about what they do. It's also a good networking opportunity. And I think if you fully take advantage of the resources, you should have no problem finding an internship or job position.
Yeah, I'd like to add that I got my internship by going to the career fair. So they do work.
I think it's really important to point out the UC Berkeley Career Center, that we actually have a satellite office right near, like right maybe a half a block from our building, where they come and they are willing to critique your resume, and they provide you with many resume workshop opportunities, interview workshop opportunities. So we really do a lot to prepare our students to go to a career fair, and how do you talk to those representatives, and then after you've given them your resume, how do you contact them again, and how do you follow up with them, and how do you negotiate a salary? So these are all workshops that are continually being offered by the Career Center, so you have that support as well, helping you in your search and in your professional preparation.
Okay, I have another question. This one is about research. So we've heard a little bit about there being research opportunities for undergraduates, but we have a student who'd like to know more specifically, what kinds of research opportunities are there and how does a student get involved in them? So I'm not sure who wants to work on that one.
I can start,
Great.
and then I think we should hear from Frank and Adriana as well. There are a number of ways in which an undergraduate student can be involved in research. There's a campus-wide program called URAP, Undergraduate Research Apprenticeships, and students can apply to jobs that are posted on the URAP website with a professor from practically any department. For this kind of research experience, you are not paid, but you can receive credit unless you extend the research experience into the summer, in which case you can be paid for it. But very often, and this is quite common, students are involved in research by simply talking to a professor. Say somebody's taken this is how it's usually worked with me. A student who's taken my class will walk up to me sometime during the semester and say, I really like this material and this subject. Do you have a research position for me? And this is how I've typically hired undergraduate students who have worked with me over the years. And I've regularly, since I joined here, joined the faculty at Berkeley in 1996, I've had one or two students almost every year working on my research projects with me, my master's and PhD students. There's also a college-wide program. Kara, maybe you can say a few things about that.
Yeah, the college just started a new program to support undergraduate research that does provide additional financial support. So you apply directly to this program, and it provides $1,000 in stipend if you do research during the semester, and then $5,000 over the summer if you are working on research. So you can either have a research opportunity already identified, and then it can provide support for that, or the program can help to match you with a research opportunity. So that's just started this semester, so you guys will be perfectly able to take advantage of it. And it's possible to get involved in research as early as your freshman year, and some students do. I guess it's probably more common for students to get involved more towards their junior and senior year, but I've had students start working with me as early as their sophomore year. I also have students, always have at least one undergraduate student working in my research lab. This summer we'll have 3, because there's more time available over the summer, and so you can really dedicate yourself to a specific project. Maybe Frank or Adriana would like to add to about their own experiences.
Okay. As Professor Madanat said, a lot of research positions are obtained by just going and talking to a professor, and if they have something, then you can just jump in and start helping. I actually got my position through the Transportation Center on campus, which is actually a research group, so I don't work with one professor, but I get to be staffed on multiple projects, and I like that. It's also a paid position. We have a lot of undergraduates that work there. We're hiring all the time, so it doesn't seem like there's much trouble getting research, but I may be a little biased.
So I currently do research in fluid mechanics, and I basically got this position by showing interest in the area of fluid mechanics when I took the class. The professor actually wanted me to start working my junior year, but that year I was serving as the project manager of the concrete canoe team, so I prioritized that. And then over this past summer, he contacted me again and said, "Oh, Frank, are you gonna have time this coming year?" I said, "Yeah." So this year I've been working in his lab for pretty much. I put in a couple hours every week.
Yeah, and the best thing for being able to do research while you're taking classes is to try to free up like at least half of a day, like a full morning or a full afternoon, so that you can, actually have time to get something done, because it is hard to do research in, 1 or 2 hour time chunks. So we have another question that I guess is best directed to me about what kind of international programs and exchanges are available. And I am one of the people in the department that helps to support students who want to do have an international experience. So mostly that's done through our Education Abroad program, and that's a UC-wide program, so it's administered for all the campuses in the UC system. The good thing about that is that it's huge in the sense that there are many, many places you can go. So most countries in the world, we have some kind of program already set up with one or more universities in that country, and you can apply to go and study at most of them. As an engineering student, there are a couple of different strategies that you can take with trying to find an education abroad program that's going to work for you. One is to find a program that is still going to offer the kinds of technical courses in civil engineering that you're going to want to take, even if you were here. So if you can find comparable courses at another university, then you can actually get credit for those, and they'll transfer back and take place of the classes that you would have taken here. Another option is that you could try to get ahead a bit on your required courses, and then during your education abroad, take courses that you don't actually need to fit into a specific requirement here, but it's something that you're really interested in, and it allows you to expand your educational experience in a new direction. So what I tend to do with students is we try to sit down at least a year before you're planning to go. Ideally, we sit down actually your freshman year and sort of map out a plan for what the classes you're going to take, and then where your education abroad experience can fit in, and then what courses you would need to be taking then, or what courses you can get out of the way so that you can free up some of your time. And I have sort of a running list of classes that our students have taken at different universities and gotten credit for, and a sense for which classes are sort of the easiest ones that transfer. And so I share that information with you, and we kind of work that into the overall strategy. we've had students literally go just about everywhere, different countries in Europe, Asia, and South America. There are programs that are for a single semester in length. We have a student right now who's in Mexico for the entire year. She actually planned to just go for a semester, and she was enjoying it so much that she extended for a whole year. Some of the programs involve language study. So we have an amazing languages program here on campus. You can study hundreds of languages. And so that's another opportunity you could take advantage of in your study abroad. But even in countries that are not, where English is not the primary language, a lot of them actually offer education abroad courses in English. So you can study there too, even if you haven't mastered the language. There are other kinds of international opportunities sort of outside the a formal education abroad system. So there are a couple of different organizations that offer technical internships abroad, and so we've had a few of our students do those. It's a little bit more up to your own initiative, but they're really rewarding experiences, and certainly are give you a totally different kind of experience that you get here in the classroom, and we're very supportive of students doing that. Unless anyone has anything to add to that, we have another question. What are the most popular minors that civil and environmental engineering students do? And specifically, how is energy engineering related to civil engineering? And including like the practice of civil engineering after you graduate. So I think there's actually two questions in there. So maybe we could talk first about the minors, and then we'll also talk about energy engineering. So Joan mentioned, can you mention again the minors that you've seen being the most common?
City and regional planning. A lot of the students are interested in transportation studies, are very interested in that one. Architecture is a very popular one for our structural students. A lot of our environmental students, there is a forestry program down in the College of Natural Resources where they actually go spend a summer up in the Sierras, kind of ranging, digging ditches and things like that. But that's a very program that I would say every year about 2 or 3 of our students do. Another area that I see a lot of is languages. Our students seem to a lot of Spanish. Some of our structural students are very interested in Italian, and then often go travel abroad to Rome, which makes a lot of sense to me. And then we have a large group of students that have been taking minors within engineering, so getting a IEOR minor, or getting a mechanical engineering minor, or a material science minor, or a computer science minor. Also seems to be very popular in our group.
Wow.
So it's I think it's really hard to say. I mean, we are having advising night tomorrow night, and we will have students talking about minors, and they're just all across the board. And I think that's what is so kind of satisfying, and what makes Berkeley such a special place to study is there is no kind of one niche that any of our students are in. We have students who are exploring just all areas of campus. I have a student who's getting Chinese as their minor right now.
And did you mention the global poverty and practice minor?
I didn't. I forgot that one, but that is another very popular minor. And students spend a summer working on a project in a underdeveloped country in that minor, and that is definitely a very popular minor too.
So let's talk a little bit about the connections between energy and civil engineering.
Well,
Professor Modnot.
Sure, I can. So there are 2 ways in which you can be exposed to energy engineering, or the field of energy as it relates to civil and environmental engineering. One of the ways is within the department through our new ECIC program. ECIC stands for Energy, Civil Infrastructure, and Climate. And this is a program that is nascent. We have as of yet a small number of courses offered there, and these courses include courses on life cycle assessment of energy and their use. We have courses in transportation sustainability that talks about fuels, and I believe this is probably taught by the people with whom Adriana is working, right? But outside of the department, there's within the undeclared engineering, there's within the engineering science group, which is not a formal department, but is cross-cutting across the College of Engineering. They have a new undergraduate degree on energy engineering with courses taught by faculty in civil, mechanical, electrical, and various other departments. The connection between the energy resources and the civil infrastructure is one that is very strong, and having a specialization in that makes a lot of sense, and it's starting to make much more sense as questions of sustainability and the carbon footprint of the civil infrastructure come to the fore and are of obviously global importance.
Yes, Professor Hunt.
Yeah, I would like to add on the energy side within the College of Engineering. It's such a new area, at least the new approach to energy engineering, that every department is trying to feel out where it actually belongs. I think civil and environmental engineering has identified a unique niche with a recent faculty hiring in the area of smart cities, where these faculty that we're applying and we hope will joining us very soon, we're integrating energy issues with how urban systems actually are run, looking at how do you minimize water use, which is an energy use component, how do you minimize transportation costs, which are energy factors, and real challenge of renewable energies, which get into storage. And that's something that we see, I think, in our department, being able to cover in the way that's appropriate for the implementation, compared to what we find in electrical, looking at smart grids, mechanical engineering, sort of energy conversion technologies. Industrial engineering operations research has their own approach to it on sort of systems optimization. But I think we've defined a nice niche within civil to serve a need that certainly is growing.
Thank you. Okay, switching gears a little bit, I have a question about what kind of resources are available to our students in terms of advising, peer mentors, and then a specific thing like computer labs. So I think I'd like to hear from both from our students and from Joan about that one.
I'll start out about advising. Our students are really well advised. You're assigned a faculty advisor who we force you to see every semester because you must get an advisor code from them before you can register for classes. So it's a wonderful opportunity to talk about, what you think you might want to do professionally in the field, and whether or not you want to go to graduate school, and what kind of coursework that your interests may lay. You also have an advisor in the College of Engineering, and this is the person who makes sure that you are on track to graduate. And then I'm available to, add additional departmental resources. A lot of students come to me and ask, do I know about somebody who might be, doing research in a particular field, or, about where they could look for an internship, those types of things. We have our Chi Epsilon students conduct a study hall twice a week for us, and that's a great opportunity for peer advising because they're junior and senior students who have lots of experience and are willing to share those experiences. I also see a lot of peer advising happening on our competition teams. A lot of the freshmen joining get some wonderful advice from the juniors and seniors who are on those teams. So if we're looking for resources as far as study aids, the College of Engineering with their new study center where they're offering tutoring in the lower division classes has just been a really great opportunity for students and they also have peer advisors available every afternoon in the various different engineering areas. So if you're in civil and you're not quite sure that that's the field for you, you can go talk to the peer advisor in mechanical engineering and find out whether that might be something you're more interested in, or whether civil is really the place for you.
Adriana or Frank, do you want to add anything about your own experience with either getting the advising that you need or serving as a peer mentor or peer advisor?
Okay, well, we're both in Chi Epsilon. So as Joan said, we have study halls. So we provide not only advising on scheduling and any other possible question you may have, but we also have tutoring available. And I've found that to be a pretty valuable resource for especially the lower division students. It's open to all civil engineering students, so anyone can come. You don't have to be a part of Chi Epsilon. We also put on an advising night once a semester, and that's to help select your classes. And it's really interactive between students, and there's also faculty members that come to that. So you really get a wide range of advising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for myself, as you know, I've been involved with like ASE and Concrete Canoe. My first 2 years, I would typically ask some of the older students, like, oh, is this a reasonable schedule? What classes should I take? Things like that. And then the last 2 years, the roles have kind of switched, and I've found myself giving advice to a lot of the younger students. So you kind of build this network of friends that you can go to and ask about.
And maybe just to follow up on that a little bit, could you comment on how you feel the climate is like between students? Do you feel like it's a supportive climate and that students are helping each other, or is it really competitive?
I don't think it's competitive at all. I typically work on problem sets with friends all the time. We ask each other for help. We work through things together.
There really is a sense of community in the student organizations. So you're with the same students in classes and in all of your meetings that you have later. So you really develop a friendship with all of these people. So it really gets rid of the competition, I would say. And everyone's just pretty willing to help out. Normally the problem sets are pretty difficult, so you're definitely going to need more than one head to tackle the problems.
Yeah, and from the faculty perspective, I can say that we, in general, really encourage student collaboration, but that doesn't take the place of like doing your own work. But we recognize that it's extremely important to be working with other students and tackling, like you said, some of the challenging homework assignments and projects that we give to you. And so we support you in doing that. So we have a specific question about like computer labs. Joan, would you be the right person to address that?
Yeah, we do. In the dorms, each dorm has computer labs available to the students, so that's a great resource. And additionally, we have 2 computer labs available in Davis Hall that students have access to. And it is advisable to have a computer for yourself. I mean, if you're able to do that, and if you have a financial aid package and you're not able to get a computer, you can go to the financial aid office and have your financial aid package amended to include a computer so you can have your grant increased, and that's an important thing to do. It's just easier to study, to be doing work at home if you don't have to count on a computer lab to have that.
So pay attention.
And there are free resources that Microsoft Word and Excel and all of those packages are available free to students at Berkeley.
That's recent, and that's
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes, it is.
We are so happy about that. Okay, so we have just a couple minutes left, and I'd like to ask a question to our chair. What's sort of our philosophy of education here about, what kind of engineers are we trying to educate and produce here at Cal?
That's a very, very good question, Cara. I think it's, there are a variety of CE departments around the country. And some are very good at training people with tools and software, and so that their graduates are going to be essentially, in my mind, technicians. And this is not what our philosophy here is at Berkeley. At Berkeley, we train students to think, and we train them to become leaders in the profession and in academia. Typically, that means that they can grow in companies, reach leadership levels very quickly, as well as if they work in the public sector. They know how to attack broad and difficult problems because they have been trained to think. Many of them go to graduate school. Some of them continue for a PhD and become professors. And again, you find that Berkeley is very well known for that. So this is what we emphasize, leadership.
Wonderful. With that, we are just about out of time, so I want to thank all of our panelists for being part of this event, and I want to thank all of our participants for joining us. You are absolutely welcome to follow up with any of us by email or by telephone if you have additional questions about our program. And we are extremely excited to welcome you here in the fall, and so we look forward to meeting you in person.